A setback for Lucas Bergvall as he leaves Sweden's international camp. Spurs could welcome back Dominic Solanke at the perfect time when they face Arsenal next weekend. Mixed international fortunes for two of our players this week so far. And are ticket prices too high? Here are your daily Tottenham news headlines. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig and here are your daily Tottenham news headlines where I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube and are not already as yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Like, share and comment below. And if you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Okay, let's get into it. The Standard report that Tottenham midfielder Lucas Bergvall has left the Sweden national team camp early after suffering a setback in his recovery from a concussion. The 19-year-old came off injured just 7 minutes into Spurs' 1-0 derby defeat to Chelsea 2 weeks ago after catching a pass in the face, subsequently missing matches against Copenhagen and Manchester United. He was called up to the Sweden squad despite still being in the midst of his mandated 12-day recovery period. Speaking to Sportbladet, Swedish FA executive Stefan Pettersson added, "We have agreed with Tottenham's doctor to do some tests during the week and then run at full speed so Lucas would feel it properly. When there was a reaction, there was no hesitation. We don't want to take any risks." The young Swede now faces a race against time to be past fit for North London Derby Day, Spurs' first match after the international break. Thomas Frank will hope to be boosted by a handful of returnees ahead of that crunch derby match, with the likes of Christian Romero, Mohamed Kudus and long-term absentee Radu Draguzin all expected to be in contention at the Emirates. Football.London report that Thomas Frank can unleash Tottenham's forgotten man at the most perfect time against Arsenal. That man is Dominic Solanke. Solanke, seen as a player who could thrive in Frank's system, has only racked up 3 appearances this term. In fact, the 28-year-old has only been on the pitch for 49 minutes. An ankle injury disrupted much of the England international's pre-season, and the striker ended up having minor surgery to try and rectify the issue at the end of September. It means Solanke has not led the line for Tottenham for nearly 3 months. There is general hope that Solanke could return to the Spurs matchday squad for the North London derby against Arsenal on Sunday, November the 23rd. Spurs then travel to Paris to face Champions League holders PSG 3 days later before welcoming Fulham to North London on November 29th. The back end of November and December will see Tottenham playing 9 games in all competitions, and Frank will want as many of his players fit as possible. While Solanke may not start against league leaders Arsenal in just over a week's time, he certainly could come off the bench to make an impact. A lot will depend on what Solanke does training-wise over the next week. Frank and Tottenham, though, will soon be able to call upon Solanke once again, and his return has arguably come at the perfect time. Guillermo Vicario continued his strong start to the season on Thursday night with another clean sheet, this time on international duty, as he helped Italy to an important 2-0 win over Moldova. Part of Italy's World Cup qualifying campaign, the Azzurri needed a win to keep their hopes of qualifying automatically for next summer's tournament in the USA, and they delivered just that. On a very tense night in Chisinau, Moldova, the Italians had to wait until the 88th minute to break the deadlock through Gianluca Mancini before Federico Esposito put the game beyond doubt 3 minutes later. It was a rather quiet night for Vic, who had just 1 shot to contend with as he kept his 3rd clean sheet for his country. However, the victory might not be enough in Italy's fight for automatic qualification for the World Cup, with group leaders Norway also winning it tonight 4-1 with a victory over Estonia. It's Italy host Norway in the final qualifier on Sunday, with the Scandinavian nation holding a 3-point lead. However, they also hold a massive goal difference compared to Italy, needing a 17-goal swing in the final game to overtake Norway. Former Spurs man Troy Parrott scored twice as João Palhinha's Portugal saw their hopes of automatic World Cup qualification dented by the Republic of Ireland on Thursday. Heading into the game, a win would have secured Portugal a place at the 2026 finals, which is set to be hosted in the USA, Canada and Mexico. But it turned out to be a very difficult night for them in Dublin. Falling behind within 17 minutes at the Aviva Stadium with their academy graduate Parrott opening the scoring, Portugal were then further behind just before the break as our former forward who departed for AZ Alkmaar in 2024 at the double. Things went from bad to worse for Portugal in the second half. On 61 minutes, their captain Ronaldo was shown a red card for violent conduct, meaning he'll miss the final qualifier against Armenia. It is likely now that Portugal will now have to win that game in Porto if they are to be assured of a place at the World Cup. Palhinha remained an unused substitute for the game. The Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust has claimed that high ticket prices are the main contributor to recent lack of atmosphere at home matches. Spurs have failed to fill the ground in both of their European nights so far this term, with matches against Villarreal and Copenhagen seeing supporter numbers well below capacity. After significant decreases in attendance at the beginning of this term, especially in the Champions League, the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust have released a message to the club saying, over the last couple of seasons, it's undeniable that the atmosphere has declined at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The reasons are simple. Too many empty seats and too many supporters, particularly young supporters, priced out of attending. Thin the crowd and you thin the noise, said the statement. Europa League nights last season with sensibly priced ticket prices proved the point. Fair ticket pricing fills the ground, often with the next generation of Spurs fans, and the noise follows. This season, the illusion has gone. The Champions League, our flagship nights, have seen thousands of empty seats, in our view, due to unrealistic and unaffordable match pricing. We're asking the club to make ticketing fair and affordable and encourage the next generation of all match-going fans so the stands are packed every match, all season. Fill our home and we'll find our voice again. The stadium holds over 62,000 fans, but just shy of 55,000 people were present for Spurs' narrow success over Villarreal, and 49,000 only came out to our battering of Copenhagen. This is a clear indicator that fans are being priced out of attending matches and are not either included into the season ticket pricing or are overpriced in general. Okay, well, here's my thoughts on all those stories today. Firstly, Lucas Bergvall having to leave the Sweden camp. This is totally understandable and a sensible precaution, to be honest. I don't think it's particularly anything to worry about. I think it's a good thing, personally, that they're monitoring things like this concussion. You can never be too careful. So Lucas Bergvall now returns to Tottenham and will carry on his recovery. I am hopeful that Bergvall will be available for Arsenal. He's got over a week still to be fit for that, and the doctors will monitor him closely. As I say, not much else to say. You can't be too careful with concussion injuries. People say just getting hit on the side of the head is nothing. Why is he out so long? Well, if you've not ever been hit by a football that's travelling quite quickly in the side of your head, you won't know what it's like. So hopefully Bergvall will be back in contention, as I say, against Arsenal, because we need something else in that midfield, and Bergvall certainly offers that to us. Dominic Solanke, hopefully good news on this. I haven't heard tons about Dominic Solanke really from Thomas Frank, just saying he's progressing. It's a bit frustrating, to be honest, and I'm sure it's frustrating for Solanke, but we need other options up front without a doubt. Richarlison just not cutting it for me at present, even though he obviously did score against Manchester United. I think Dominic Solanke offers something that little bit different, and I really want to see him get a good run of games and stay fit under Thomas Frank and see what he can do for us. Is that going to change our fortunes? Is that going to make us play with a bit more progression? Let's hope so if Dominic Solanke's in that number 9 role. We've just been so unlucky with injuries again this season. We all know who they are. I won't reel them off, but you know, Randall Cullen-Mawani injured. That front line we need a bit of stability in that front line where we didn't have it in our defence over the last couple of years. We're now not getting it in those forward positions, so it's just typical Spurs luck, isn't it? That we've had all these injuries, but look, hopefully we're getting players back now. Radu Dragusin hopefully went on his way. Kota Takai even, you know, we haven't seen Kota Takai at all. So let's start getting these players back, please, Tottenham, and hopefully Kulusevski back on the road to recovery as well. Let's get those players back, and it will be like new signings for Thomas Frank, essentially, some of these players. So yeah, let's get those players back. Good to hear Vicario kept a clean sheet. Didn't sound like he had much to do, in fairness, in Italy's qualifier, but another clean sheet, and that's going to boost his confidence. Just the one save to make for Vicario, but doesn't matter. He's kept a clean sheet, and it all leads to confidence. João Palhinha, as stated, didn't even get on the pitch for Portugal's loss to the Republic of Ireland. What a result, by the way. Troy Parrott as well, just really kicking his career on since he left Tottenham, doing so well for Ireland as well. Other players obviously played. I won't go into all those games yet. Perhaps we'll do an international roundup next week. But finally, I want to talk about ticket pricing again. I do agree with the trust on this. The pricing for Champions League matches, I've said before, are ridiculous. If they want to fill that stadium for me, then they need to bring the ticketing prices down to sensible levels. Offer family packages. Other clubs do kids for £5 or £10. Surely, look, Spurs will turn around and say that they get more money from selling tickets up here and not filling the stadium than if they sold them down here, and filled the stadium. So are they saying that they would rather profit over atmosphere? That's what it says to me. That's what I might be wrong in that, but that's what it says to me. For me, I'd rather see the stadium full and full of younger Spurs fans as well. Give them the option, the kids, to come along and make loads of noise and get that atmosphere, rather than having a lower crowd with less atmosphere, if that makes sense. I've got this a big bee in my bonnet about ticketing prices, especially at Tottenham. Look, I know that's the way it is, but some clubs don't do it. Some clubs do not do it. Some clubs' ticketing prices are lower, and some. If other clubs in the Premier League were in the Champions League, I'm sure their ticketing prices would be lower than us. Yes, I know we've got a big stadium to pay for, blah, blah, blah. You say all that, but surely you're going to want the atmosphere inside the stadium. So please, Spurs, lower the ticket prices. They're saying Dortmund's going to be Category B. I still think that's too much for a family of four to shell out. What, you're going to pay 400 odd quid for a night out? That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money to any family. I'm sorry, you've got to do better than that, Spurs. If you want that stadium full, you've got to do better. Anyway, that's all from me today. Get down in the comments and let me know your thoughts right now as being a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Any of the stories today. Do you want to talk about ticket prices? Please put your thoughts in there. I'd love to see what your thoughts are on the ticketing prices and what you think they should be capped at for Champions League matches. And that's it from me. As I say, have a good weekend, and I'll see you again soon. And as always, come on you Spurs.